and conditions. Legal notice. The publisher has strived to be as accurate and complete as possible in the creation of this report, notwithstanding the fact that he does not warrant or represent at any time that the contents within are accurate due to the rapidly changing nature of the Internet. While all attempts have been made to verify information provided in this publication, the publisher assumes no responsibility for errors, omissions, or contrary interpretation of the subject matter herein. Any perceived slights of specific persons, peoples, or organizations are unintentional. In practical advice books, like anything else in life, there are no guarantees of income made. Readers are cautioned to rely on their own judgment about their individual circumstances to act accordingly. This book is not intended for use as a source of legal, business, accounting or financial advice. All readers are advised to seek services of competent professionals in legal, business, accounting and finance fields. You are encouraged to print this book for easy reading. Table of contents. Foreword. Chapter 1. Addiction Basics. Chapter 2. Recognize the addiction. Chapter 3. Find a support group. Chapter 4. Determine if you need therapy. Chapter 5. Check into treatment centers. Chapter 6. The dangers of gaming addiction. Chapter 7. Be careful not to get hooked. Chapter 8. How to know if you can handle it yourself. Chapter 9. The best way to beat the addiction before it starts. Chapter 10. Learning to separate these games from reality. Foreword. Gaming addiction from any other types of addiction that are present in the human nature nowadays. Such type of addiction is not unstoppable, and these are so many ways to prevent its effects. In order to save its victims from misery and lack of discipline in life, a support group must be hired immediately. Although some individuals who are not yet suffering from its worst effects can handle it by themselves without the assistance of the authorities. Dealing with gaming addiction. Chapter 1. Addiction Basics. Synopsis. Gaming addiction is one of the most destructing effects of the video and online games to the mental status of a person. Such type of addiction is very common to children and even to teenagers as well. It is really hard to accept the fact that the things you consider useful are the things that will also destroy your mentality as a human. There's a way to save your loved ones, family or children from this kind of addiction. But still, prevention is the best solution to keep your neighbors, friends and family members protected from its destructive effects. You have to move now, since video and online games are already multiplying and influencing the minds of several individuals in this world. Addiction Basics. Gaming addiction has two classifications, but both classifications have similar effects to the behavior of a person. Some people call it computer addiction because it occurs in the presence of computers where several kinds of addictive video and online games are available. Some individuals call it internet addiction because most examples of games that are available in computers nowadays are connected or accessible on the internet. Every year, new versions of these addictive games are appearing in computers and internet to attract computer users. Actually, there's nothing wrong in enjoying this kind of application in computers. However, too much exposure to such hobby is bad for the overall health of a person, most especially to the brain. Gaming addiction can make a person irresponsible. Some individuals are already neglecting their responsibilities in life because of this type of addiction. Some students are no longer attending to the classes in schools and universities because of video and online games. Some workers are already losing the good performance and productivity at work because of this serious problem. Its worst effect to human beings is the fact that it can destroy the harmonious and strong relationship of a person to a family. Gaming addiction can change the overall personality and behavior of a person. Those individuals who are very kind and industrious will turn to lazy and violent individuals once exposed to several kinds of online and video games for several hours and days. It is really hard to control the negative effects of this problem to humans. But if people will already move to stop this kind of addiction now, there's a possibility that one of these days, the regular players of online and video games in computers will already be able to control their extreme desire for to play such games. Chapter 2. Recognize the addiction. Synopsis. Is it possible to recognize gaming addiction? The answer to this question is a big yes. There are so many ways to determine if a person is already a victim of this type of addiction. Through comprehensive observation and a set of detailed evaluations, a person will be able to determine if an individual is already a gaming addict. Having an ability to recognize this kind of addiction can also help a person avoid its possible causes as time goes by. All people in this world should try to discover the best ways on how to discover this kind of addiction to eliminate its negative effects to human beings faster and more effectively. As time goes by, the number of online game and video game users is multiplying fast. Millions of people in this world are already using the famous online games and video games on the internet and computers nowadays to satisfy their extreme desire to compete with other players in the different parts of the globe. Recognize the addiction. For some individuals, this situation looks normal. However, behind the enjoyable scenes of this situation, several individuals are already losing their real personality and harmonious relationship with their family members because of the bad and destructing effects of the video and online games to their minds and behavior. Some individuals are already willing to kill their own friends and family members just to enjoy these addictive games forever, regardless of its possible effects to the daily living and future. As much as possible, this problem must be resolved with the help of a very excellent solution right now to save other individuals who are already at risk of its worst effects. Gaming addiction is not actually different from any type of substance addiction. It is an unusual behavior wherein a person exhibits extreme desire to play online and video games continuously without considering the importance of education and discipline in their lives. If substance addiction can make a person crazy, this type of addiction can also destroy the mental health of a person. If substances can totally destroy the overall health of a person, gaming addiction can also make the immune system and health of a person weaker. Some users of online games and video games nowadays have already forgotten the proper way of living in this world due to the things that are present in the scenes of the games that their eyes can see in the computers. Hopefully, this problem will no longer continue to grow and destroy the lives of other people. Find a support group. Synopsis. Gaming addicts still deserve a second chance to live normally in this world. It is true that spending too much time to online and video games can make a person crazy in the end. The best solution to apply in order to stop the negative effects of this addiction to the human beings is not to blame the gaming addicts. Addicts. The act of blaming the individuals who got addicted to online and video games is not the best solution to the effects of gaming addiction to human beings. A set of education and rehabilitation programs will be the best solution to the negative effects of gaming addiction to human beings. These programs will help the gaming addicts to change the path of their lives in a good way for their own welfare. The rehabilitation programs of gaming addicts should focus on the different ways on how to remove the extreme desire or interest of a person to video and online games. In this program, the negative effects of this type addiction must be explained to the patients to educate them more effectively and to motivate them to quit permanently in such type of addictive activity for the rest of their lives. Only a dedicated support group for gaming addiction can perform these kinds of programs for the gaming addicts. Find a support group. Is it possible to change the paths of gaming addicts in a good way to provide them with a brighter future? Well, of course it is possible. A support group for gaming addicts is already available in the different parts of the globe to help the family members of those individuals who got addicted to online games and video games in protecting the future of their loved one against the negative effects of this type of addiction. When is the right time to ask for the assistance of a support group for gaming addiction? If one of your family members is already spending more than 4 hours to computer games, it's a sign that something is wrong. Try to spend more attention on the behavior of that person, but be careful in making your final judgments. It is because such action can make the problem worse when not properly executed. A support group for this type of an addiction is a team that aims to eliminate the negative effects of gaming addiction to human beings. A support group can help the family members of gaming addicts in the process of resolving the problems that were caused by this type of addiction to their relationship with their loved ones. This team provides several kinds of rehabilitation programs for gaming addicts. Their rehabilitation programs were designed to give the gaming addicts a second chance to live better in this world for the rest of their lives. The team can change the paths in life by helping them to motivate themselves to quit permanently from the use of online and video games. Determine if you need therapy. Synopsis. Gaming addiction could be very dangerous for the mental and physical health of a person. It can cause lack of concentration and several kinds of health problems in the body and mind of a person when not properly treated. There are so many kinds of therapy for this kind of addiction that can help gaming addicts to recover faster after spending several days in rehabilitation centers and facilities of a support group. To determine if you really need a therapy for this kind of addiction, try to review all of your current behaviors as a regular user of online and video games in computers. If something looks very unusual in your behaviors, it will be the right time for you to visit a psychologist or psychiatrists to undergo an extensive therapy for this kind of addiction. Determine if you need therapy. Gaming addiction is equivalent to substance addiction. However, the main cause of unusual behaviors in this type of addiction is a computer game. Just like the other types of addiction, the victims of this condition need an extensive assistance and therapy from the authorities to achieve full recovery and great changes in their miserable lives. The first step in determining if you really need a therapy for this addiction is to observe. If you're happy while playing computer games and angry when instructed to quit from playing, it is already a sign that something is wrong with your behavior. The situation that was stated in the previous paragraph looks ordinary, right? It is already the right time for you to visit a psychologist to undergo a special therapy for the effects of gaming addiction to your behavior. If you're already losing your concentration on the other tasks because of computer games, you have to undergo also an extensive therapy for this kind of addiction to prevent the worst problems that it can create in your life. You are at risk of gaming addiction and you need a therapy also if you cannot sleep at night because of computer games. In other words, if you're already sacrificing the most important things in your life for the sake of computer games, you definitely need a therapy for this type of addiction now. Don't wait for the time that you are no longer capable of controlling your extreme desire for computer games. If these signs are already present in your behavior now, look for a reliable therapist or psychologist immediately to prevent the more complicated problems that gaming addiction can bring in your life as a regular user of computer games. It is true that some individuals succeeded in the process of owning the effects of this addiction without the assistance of the authorities. However, it is still much better to rely on the advices and recommendations of the authorities while aiming to recover from gaming addiction. Check into treatment centers. Synopsis. The victims of gaming addiction must be brought to licensed treatment centers immediately to save them from the negative effects of this addiction. Such type of addiction can destroy the future when not treated properly. The best type of therapy to apply in the victims of this addiction can be found only in the treatment centers that are allotted for them. Such treatment centers are also known as rehabilitation centers. In these treatment centers, the staffs were trained to handle the effects of gaming addiction to the behaviors of the patients. In these rehabilitation centers, the gaming addicts will be subjected to extensive therapies that will help them to change the current mental condition. There's a way to save them from this type of addiction. The therapists who are available in these medical institutions will guide the gaming addicts in the process of forgetting their extreme desire to play computer games every day. In these facilities, the patients will learn the best ways on how to prevent gaming addiction after their extensive rehabilitation program. Treatment centers serve as rehabilitation center for all of the victims of gaming addiction nowadays. Check into treatment centers. The staff of these medical institutions know to the proper ways on how to guide the patients in achieving full recovery from such type of addiction. It serves as a sanctuary for all of the victims of gaming addiction who deserve a second chance to live better in this world for the rest of their lives. These treatment centers are full of special programs that will motivate the patients to become better and more respectable individuals. Gaming addiction can make the behavior and attitude of a person unacceptable as the time goes by, especially when its negative effects were neglected by the family members of the victim. If treatment centers do not exist, the rate of crimes will surely increase. It is because some gaming addicts consider the scenes in computer games as part of the reality in their lives. Some children are no longer afraid to hurt the fellow children because of computer games. These individuals also believe that the violent actions and moves that are present in these online and video games are part of the reality. If your child is already getting more violent and totally influenced with unacceptable behaviors, you have to ask for the assistance of a licensed treatment center for gaming addiction immediately to avoid the most complicated situations. It is hard to fight this kind of addiction, but quick responses and solutions can lessen its damages and negative effects in the end. It will become much easier to save the computer users from such type of addiction if the group of people that surrounds them is very responsible and capable of recognizing the early signs of gaming addiction. The dangers of gaming addiction. Synopsis. Gaming addiction is also dangerous for humans. It can destroy also the life and good future of a person when the proper treatments for its negative effects were not provided immediately. Just like the other types of addiction, this problem can also make the life of an individual miserable and useless. As much as possible, its dangers must be prevented always to eliminate the most complicated effects of this addiction to humans. Gaming addiction grows faster as the number of computer games in the internet increases. The best way to stop its dangers is to ask for the assistance of the individuals who can inspire the gaming addicts to stop their extreme addiction to computer games. Some individuals believe that gaming addicts can also handle the negative effects of this addiction without the assistance of the authorities. However, it is best to guide them in the process of a rehabilitation program for gaming addicts to get better results in the end. The effects of gaming addiction are not totally different from what the substance addiction can do to the life of a person. It can make an individual crazy in the end. It can also distract the concentration of an individual to the most important tasks, and it also causes sleeplessness. The dangers of gaming addiction. Gaming addiction can affect a person in several ways. It can make the life of an individual miserable and useless for several years if proper therapies and assistance were not provided. One of the dangers of this addiction is the fact that it can make a person violent and dependent to computer games for several days, months, or even for several years. It is one of the main causes of the increased rate of crimes and violations in this world nowadays. It is because gaming addiction exposes an individual to several kinds of unacceptable behavior. The group of children that serves as a victim of this addiction doesn't know the difference between the good and bad because everything that their eyes can see in video games is competitions and violations. In computer games, killing is not a violation. In computer games, stealing and cheating are not form of violations and exploitations of human rights. Most of the individuals who got addicted to computer games nowadays are no longer responsible and aware of the significance of moral values in their lives. The effects of gaming addiction to human beings are very dangerous. The meaning of the word discipline slowly disappears in this world and in the vocabulary of several individuals because of the presence of online video games and computer games that are promoting vices and crimes in the minds of its regular users. Gaming addiction can victimize all the individuals in this world regardless of their age, gender, and status of living. But this type of addiction is very common in male individuals. It is because most of the users of computer games at the present time are men. Be careful not to get hooked. Synopsis. All of the human beings that are living in this world can be victimized by gaming addiction anytime and anywhere. The addiction will start to attack a person while enjoying several kinds of computer games every day. This type of medical condition grows faster in the behavior of a person who uses computer games regularly. Children, teenagers, and adults have no escape from this type of addiction. The only way to stay free from its negative effects is to avoid computer games. It is impossible to eliminate computer games. It is because some of the workers and companies in this world are collecting the salaries and income from the purchasing price of these examples of computer software. Computer games can be used in a good way. Computer addiction will never be part of its cons in the human nature if people know to the proper use and purposes of its different examples in the internet. This type of addiction occurs when a person loses control or limits in the use of computer games. Spending several hours in these entertaining computer software samples can make a person crazy and violent in the end. Be careful not to get hooked. Gaming addiction is very dangerous. But there are so many ways to avoid it. One of the best ways to avoid this type of addiction is to spend more time with friends and family members. Try spending more time on outdoor activities with friends and family members during holiday vacations or break hours to make sure that this type of addiction will never grow in your mind. Based on some studies that were conducted to discover the negative effects of gaming addiction to human beings, most of its victims are the individuals who do not spend more time with friends and family members. Another way of avoiding gaming addiction is to fight your extreme desire to play computer games for several hours. Remember, everything that's considered too much is bad. Moderation is. Those individuals who will ignore this statement will neglect in the end. One of the best ways to apply in your daily life to fight your extreme cravings for computer games is to register in clubs that are promoting outdoor sports where you can socialize and spend more time with other people while forgetting the presence of computer games in this world. Try also to look for an individual who can motivate you to change your attitude and responses when it comes to computer games. Such individual could be one of your parents or friends who are not playing computer games. Accept all the suggestions and be responsible enough while trying to quit from gaming addiction. A support group is highly recommended also at this stage. Most of the staffs of support groups for gaming addiction are former gaming addicts who succeeded in their plans to quit from using computer games to make their way of living in this world much better and more acceptable. How to know if you can handle it yourself. Synopsis. It is really hard to fight the negative effects of gaming addiction. But you can fight it alone without the assistance of the other individuals if the symptoms are not yet at the worst level. The things that will help you in handling this problem alone are patience and determination. Your plan to quit from the use of computer games will be very useless if determination is not present in your mind. You won't be able to complete your plans also if patience is not present in your mind while trying to fight gaming addiction. How to know if you can handle it yourself. If you feel uncomfortable while playing computer games or you are afraid of the danger of gaming addiction but you know that you are a real example of gaming addict, there's a possibility that you can still handle it by yourself. As long as consciousness, fear of committing violations and discipline is present in your mind, you can resolve the negative effects of computer games in your behavior and attitudes without the assistance of other people. Start in the process of resolving the problem by forgetting the presence of computer games in this world. Spend more time with friends and family members and stay focused on the things and tasks that are more important in your life as a person. You can fight gaming addiction by understanding the real purpose of your life in this world. You have to consider your life as the most precious and wonderful gift that you have in this world in order to survive from the negative effects of the stated addiction. Such recommendation could be very challenging for gaming addicts, but it is the most effective way of resolving the negative effects gaming addiction in their lives as ordinary human beings who got addicted to several kinds of computer games. Learn how to control your cravings by establishing limits on the use of computer games. But it will be much better if you can totally quit from such type of activity right now. Don't fall in love with computer games, for it will destroy you. Be more responsible and never sacrifice the most important things in your life for the sake of those entertaining software. The best way to beat the addiction. Before it starts. Synopsis. Gaming addiction is similar to substance addiction. It can destroy the lives of many people. But it can be avoided also by human beings who want to stay free from its negative effects for the rest of their lives. In this chapter, the best way on how to best such type of addiction before it starts will be discussed to help you in achieving your goals. The best way to beat the addiction before it starts. Do you like computer games? Do you have personal computers and internet connection at home? The answers to these questions will tell a person the main causes of gaming addiction nowadays. Such type of addiction will never exist in this world if personal computers and the internet were not invented. Also, this problem will never affect the human beings if computer games were not created. Nobody will refuse to accept these claims because all of its messages are part of the reality. The best way to beat gaming addiction before it starts is answer no on the questions that were given in the previous paragraph. If you do not play computer games, you will be able to fight gaming addiction. If computers and internet are not present in your home, you will never be tempted to try computer games during your holiday vacations and break hours. This is the most effective and reliable way of fighting the type of addiction that was stated. It is because gaming addiction will never attack you if you do not know its presence and the level of entertainment that it can provide. Learning to separate these games from reality. Synopsis. Gaming addiction is a situation wherein a person has totally forgotten the difference of the reality to the scenes and missions that are present in computer games. It can lead you to several kinds of unacceptable behaviors that can hurt the other people. Learning to separate these games from the reality is one of the best ways of fighting the negative impacts of gaming addiction. Its procedures will be very easy to you if you don't really like computers games. However, if you are one of the gaming addicts who love to use it regularly, it will be very hard for you to separate it from reality. Learning to separate these games from reality. A computer game remains a computer game even if you used it for several times. Consider it as an ordinary form of entertainment that can never be treated as part of the reality. While playing computer games, be sure that you will never lose your consciousness and awareness of the significance of moral values in life. Just stay true to yourself and don't be influenced by the violent scenes and cheats that are present in computer games. If you fall into its negative effects, you will become a loser and a gaming addict who has a very miserable life. When playing computer games, do not be so serious and be responsible enough. Such types of software were created because its manufacturers believe that it will never destroy the behavior of human beings. Do not compare the real world to the scenes that can be found in computer games. Games. It is true that in computer games, the players have free will to do everything that is prohibited in this world. Cheating is not prohibited in these games. Killing is not violation also in computer games. But in the real world, all of these actions are against the human rights. Don't make your life miserable because of spending too much attention and time to computer games. Wrapping up. Gaming addiction occurs at the presence of computer games in the internet. It has a very strong impact in the behavior of an individual who uses several kinds of computer games every day for several hours. If people will not move to stop its negative effects, this world will turn into a huge place of violence. Some users of computer games are not capable of separating its scenes from the reality in this world. That's why some of them commit violations without getting afraid of the possible punishments that the authorities will give to them once all of them were sent in prison. The only way to stop gaming addiction before it starts is to neglect computer games. If a person does not play computer games, gaming addiction won't occur in the future to cause several kinds of problems. If computers and internet are not present in your home, the people in this world will never be tempted to try computer games during their holiday vacations and break hours. This is the most effective and reliable way of fighting the type of addiction that was stated. Gaming addiction can change the overall personality and behaviors of all the individuals who use computer games for several hours every day. Those individuals who are very kind and industrious will turn to irresponsible and violent individuals once exposed to several kinds of violent and unrealistic computer games for several hours and days. It is really hard to stop or prevent the negative effects of this problem to humans. But if people will already move to stop this kind of addiction now, there's a possibility that one of these days, the regular players of online and video games in computers will be able already to control their extreme craving for to play such games. Another way to obstruct its dangers to human beings is to ask for the assistance of the individuals who can encourage the gaming addicts to stop their extreme addiction to computer games. Some people believe that gaming addicts can handle this addiction in a very simple yet effective way without the assistance of the authorities. However, it is more recommended to bring them in a support group to prevent additional problems. It is best to guide them in the process of a rehabilitation program to get better results at the end of the rehabilitation programs.